I am but a mortal amidst the realm of cultivators, yet I dared to open a fortune-telling shop. I boasted that I understood the heavens above and the earth below, claiming there was nothing in this world that escaped my knowledge. But as fate would have it, I found myself facing a legendary immortal who demanded a reading. In a desperate attempt to drive him away, I opened my mouth wide and demanded a preposterous fee, quoting him 150,000 spirit stones, foolishly thinking the immortal would surely turn away. Yet today the immortal seemed to have grown the heart of a tiger, stubbornly determined to see the reading through. I had no choice but to helplessly activate my strongest divination system, and the moment the calculation concluded, I was struck with terror. The immortal had only 30 seconds of life remaining. How absurd to have my first reading result in the death of an immortal. At this moment the immortal gazed at the two lines written upon my banner, discerning the mandate of heaven without worry, a true immortal of ironclad predictions. His expression darkened. Boy, your tone is truly arrogant. I felt a sense of helplessness. Having transmigrated only a few days ago, I was already caught in a scenario of a bully pressing down on the weak. Immortal, please calm your anger. I am but a small man trying to earn a meager living. My words are hardly worth your esteemed attention. It was a pity the opponent did not seem inclined to let me go. You dare address me as boy in the presence of this immortal? Have you considered the consequences? I frowned slightly. When it comes to fortune-telling, 8 or 9 out of 10 hang such banners. They are all written with such lofty proclamations. Mere parlor tricks to attract passers-by. The crowd behind the immortal chimed in, echoing his sentiments. A mere mortal dares to claim divinity? What kind of ridiculous, low-born vermin would dare act so brazenly before an immortal? Perform a reading for me today. If you are correct, I shall spare you. But if you are wrong, do not blame this immortal for showing no mercy. I no longer felt the need to humble myself. At worst, I would simply transmigrate again. Since you wish for a reading, I shall risk my life to perform one for you. However, be warned, my practice has 2 rules. The immortal in white acted as if he had heard something laughable, let out a mocking sneer. Heh, you have rules, do you? Let me hear them. The crowd behind him erupted in collective laughter, looking at me as if I were a fool, but I did not take offense. I continued calmly. My readings transcend the heavens and pierce the earth. I see through the 9 layers of heaven and reach into the 9 levels of hell. To ensure the accuracy of the omen, a price must be paid that reflects its value. Therefore, the fee depends entirely on what you wish to see. Secondly, I am but a mortal without wealth or protection. The fee must be paid up front. The white-clad immortal let out a laugh born of pure fury. You truly value wealth over your own life. Are you not afraid of obtaining the gold, only to lack the life required to spend it? I shrugged. There is nothing to be done. Rules are rules. I will humor you, but if my reading proves accurate, do not blame me for failing to warn you beforehand. I gathered my courage and steeled my resolve. Speak, immortal. Tell me what it is you wish to see. The white-clad immortal pondered for a moment before saying, Tell me how much of my lifespan remains, and name your price. My mind immediately connected with the system. The system chimed, This divination requires 100,000 spirit stones or an equivalent item of value. I swallowed hard. I had not expected the cost to be so exorbitant. Compelled by necessity, I looked at the white-clad immortal and spoke. The price for this divination is 150,000 spirit stones or an item of equivalent value. The white-clad immortal wondered if he had misheard me. Boy, are you serious? I nodded. The price is absolute. I deceive neither the young nor the old. Very well, I shall provide it, and we shall see what result you manage to calculate. With that, he produced a spatial ring and tossed it toward me. I received the exquisite ring with both hands, still half convinced that I was trapped in a dream. Even after surrendering 100,000 to the system, I would still retain 50,000 for myself. The white-clad immortal urged me, Boy, stop dazed and proceed with the calculation. This coin is not so easily earned. I forced myself to remain calm. Surviving this immediate hurdle was the priority. System, calculate. The following instant, the system interface manifested before me. Name How Long Dao Cultivation Early Stage True Immortal Realm. Lifespan, 13,000 years. Remaining lifespan, 30 seconds. I rubbed my eyes, finding it difficult to believe the brutal simplicity of this data. Furthermore, the column displaying the remaining lifespan of the white-clad immortal was fluctuating rapidly. 29, 28, 27. What was happening? The immortal is on the verge of death. This is a disaster. I asked for too little. How Long Dao noticed my stupor and grew impatient, clapping his hands. Boy, have you finished the calculation? Do not attempt to stall for time with this immortal. Such tricks will have no effect. I regained my senses and looked at him with eyes full of sympathy. Immortal Master, the calculation is complete. However, this is quite difficult to voice. The immortal energy surrounding How Long Dao surged violently. He stepped forward, closing the distance, his voice cold as ice. Lung, I told you to speak. Under the pressure of his overwhelming aura, I watched the number above his head continue to descend, and had no choice but to raise a hand and clench it into a fist. Hai Long Tao looked at my hand and suddenly laughed. 100,000 years? It is not impossible. Who would have thought a boy like you knew how to flatter? Once a cultivator ascends to become an immortal, their lifespan can reach 30,000 years, but 10,000 years can only be surpassed if one takes a further step, reaching the realm of the heavenly immortal. Though Hai Long Tao inwardly relished the flattery, he still had no intention of sparing me. In truth, he held no real grudge against me. It was simply that he had encountered several matters recently that had soured his mood. I looked somewhat sheepishly at the triumphant Hai Long Tao, changed my fist into a different gesture, and held up 9 fingers. Boy, what is the meaning of this? How bold, you dare to curse an immortal, you deserve death. He Longtao and his followers immediately began to echo one another, condemning me in unison, while the number above his head dropped to 6. Ha ha ha, how many years has it been? It has been a long time since anyone dared to act so brazenly before me. Boy, you have successfully angered me. The moment I made my first gesture, he had already decided that when the countdown ended, he would strike me down into a pile of ash to vent his rage. The others did not know that his arrival in the Tianling realm was in truth an act of hiding. Pursued by the immortal realm, he had offended a major power and was now a target forced to flee to this god-forsaken lower realm. Already nursing his fury, the sight of my fortune-telling stall immediately stirred up unpleasant memories. For that very faction was renowned throughout the immortal realm for their divinatory arts. Observing the number above Hai Longtao's head, I changed my hand gesture to 5. Strangely, upon seeing my gesture, Hai Longtao felt his heart suddenly race. At that precise moment, a black hole abruptly tore through the sky, radiating a terrifying fluctuation of power that defied description. Indeed, upon witnessing the black hole, Hai Longtao's eyes filled with unconcealed absolute terror. He wanted to flee, but no matter how he struggled, he could not lift his feet. As the countdown reached 3, a figure slowly emerged from within the black hole. That figure was encased in starlight, possessing an aura of immense sweeping grandeur. Is that an immortal king? I stared in a daze as the figure slowly descended. You hide well. To think you would flee all the way to the lower realms. A majestic voice. What is this? A high and mighty immortal, a fugitive hiding in the lower realm? At this moment, the cultivators of Ascension City surrounding Black Dragon Dao watched in utter disbelief as he knelt on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. Immortal King, spare my life. This lowly immortal was confused for a moment. I begged for the Immortal King's mercy. Black Dragon Dao did not even dare to raise his head, prostrating himself on the ground while his entire body shook with overwhelming terror. Yet that figure showed no intention of listening to his explanations. He raised a hand and pointed toward Black Dragon Dao. In an instant, a surge of power, imbued with the fluctuations of natural law, struck Black Dragon Dao directly. Before he could even utter a tragic cry, he was reduced to nothing more than a pile of white bones. At this exact moment, the countdown on the system interface came to a halt. I am unsure whether I should feel excitement or dread. This system is truly formidable. It is as if the King of Hell has decreed one must die at the 3rd watch, leaving no chance to survive until the 5th. But just as I escaped the tiger's den only to enter a wolf's lair, that figure landed before me with a look of intrigue, lifting his head to ask in a gentle tone, "Are you a diviner?" His voice was strangely kind, completely devoid of the mountainous killing intent he displayed while extinguishing Black Dragon Dao moments ago. I suppose so. I am not entirely sure if diviner is synonymous with a fortune teller, but it seems I may as well refer to myself as one. After all, with the system in my possession, as long as the other party can pay the price, there is nothing I cannot calculate. Did you perform a divination for him just now? Exalted Immortal King, this senior did indeed divine for him. He inquired about his lifespan, and as you saw, the result was as predicted. The stranger wore an I knew it expression, while I remained slightly bewildered. It seemed the divination I performed for Black Dragon Dao involved far more than just that. Seeing my dazed expression, he let out a soft laugh and flipped his hand, revealing an ancient-looking token. If you have the destiny to ascend to the immortal realm in the future, you may take this token to the Xuanwu Heaven Governing Pavilion to find me. I accepted the token with both hands. It felt weightless, yet I could clearly perceive its presence, with a faint trace of immortal energy lingering around it. This lower realm rejects my presence too strongly. I cannot remain here for long, or there would be much more I wish to ask you. He shook his head, his voice tinged with regret. As soon as he finished speaking, jet-black chains began to manifest from the abyss in the sky. He offered no resistance, allowing the chains to drag him into the void, but just before he vanished, his lips moved to transmit a final message to me. I am Ling Xiao. Should you ascend to the immortal realm one day, you must seek me out at the Heaven Governing Pavilion. It is unknown how much time passed before Ascension City slowly regained its usual clamor. That person was definitely an immortal king. Before Black Dragon Dao perished, he clearly addressed him as an immortal king. The surrounding cultivators discussed the event in a frenzy. I remained in a daze. I had only just transmigrated, and already I had divined a path to death for an immortal. This is truly overwhelming power. Even though I only spoke a few words to cast a divination, being able to calculate the exact second of an immortal's death feels utterly surreal. I asked for too little for this reading. I suddenly regretted it, slapping my thigh in frustration. I was too anxious just moments ago to ask for more. What a massive loss. Just as I prepared to slip away quietly to avoid further trouble, a voice rang out from the crowd. "Sir, please stay your steps." The speaker was a handsome, middle-aged man, dressed in the attire of a city lord, possessing a steady and composed aura. This man was none other than the lord of Dangtian City, Dugu King. I had no choice but to brace myself, turn around, and cup my hands in a salute. Does this senior have any instructions for me? Your ability to foresee events with divine accuracy and offer such precise judgments leaves us in absolute awe. I am hosting a banquet at Dongtian Pavilion this evening to honor you, sir. I hope you will not refuse. I wonder if you would do me the favor of attending? Dugu King was a man of extreme pragmatism. Observing the attitude of the immortal King Ling Xiao, it was clear how much importance they placed on this young fortune teller. Furthermore, the miraculous accuracy of my divination techniques had stirred his own interests. If he could recruit me, it would bring immense benefits to his position as city lord and to Dangtian City as a whole. Those present were all cunning foxes. In an instant, they grasped Dugu King's intentions. They immediately vied to chime in. Exactly. Sir, do not decline. From the moment I saw you, I knew you were no mere fish in a pond, but a reclusive talent of extraordinary measure. I looked at the sincere smiles on their faces, feeling a sense of bewilderment. I had assumed that behind these figures lay hidden beasts waiting to tear me apart, to devour my flesh and leave not even the bones behind. Esteemed seniors and experts, I am but a person of shallow virtue and meager talent. How dare I accept such favor? I am truly overwhelmed. I attempted to maintain a facade of composure. Sir, you jest, replied the one who spoke of humility. You are the rarest talent I have encountered in my life. It is our good fortune to be acquainted with you. The speaker was the head of the Qin family, Qin Xiaofeng, a great cultivator in the late stage of the void refinement realm. This 1,000-year-old monster flattered me without so much as a change in his expression. Dugu Qing glanced at Qin Xiaofeng with a meaningful smile, then said to me, Sir, there is no need for such modesty. Seeing that the hour is late, let us proceed to Dangtian Pavilion to continue our conversation over a meal. He gave me no room for refusal, directly ordering his subordinates. What are you waiting for? Pack up the gentleman's tools at once. See that you serve him with the utmost care. Immediately, two powerful cultivators of the spirit transformation realm stepped forward, bowing respectfully as they packed up my divination stall. Realizing there was no escaping, I gritted my teeth and followed Dugu Qing, Qin Xiaofeng, and the others toward Dangtian Pavilion. As we arrived at the entrance of the Ascending Heaven Pavilion, a servant stepped forward and bowed, his voice respectful yet poised. City Lord Dugu, may you be blessed with prosperity. Elder Qin, may you enjoy longevity and peace. Dugu Chen gave a slight nod. I am chartering the 8th floor for today. Treat my honored guests well. Tell the head chef to display their finest skills. Do not let these gentlemen be displeased. Rest assured, City Lord, I shall instruct the kitchen staff personally. We will not disappoint you or your guests. The servant faced a void return stage cultivator without a trace of fear, his speech articulate and remarkably natural. I found this quite curious. Dugu Cheng seemed to notice my bewilderment and offered an explanation. You are not yet aware, sir. The Ascending Heaven Pavilion has always been backed by a master of immense power and overwhelming influence. Their strength is extraordinary. Even the most ordinary servant here possesses a cultivation base of at least the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment stage. It is not a power that any common faction can compare to. I was struck with shock upon hearing this. What kind of faction uses Foundation Establishment cultivators as waiters? Not only that, I realized that within this entire pavilion, my strength was the most pathetic. I was nothing more than a mortal, a chicken that could not even bind a rope. Under the guidance of the servant, we walked straight to the 8th floor. Everyone sat down at Dugu Cheng's invitation, while I was ushered to the seat of honor flanked by him and Qin Xiaofeng. They treated me with the highest regard, as if I were a guest of supreme importance. Sir, you have truly opened my eyes today. Before meeting you, I never imagined there could be such a remarkable person in this world, one who could calculate the lifespan of an immortal without a single error. Dugu Cheng raised his wine cup, respectfully inviting me to drink. Someone as inexperienced as I could have easily lost themselves in such praise and titles like remarkable person. After 3 rounds of wine and the meal halfway through, Qin Xiaofeng suddenly set his cup down and asked, with a divine divination technique like yours, sir, it must have been a grueling path of cultivation, correct? I have a question, and I hope you can enlighten me. I hope you do not find my inquiry too abrupt. My heart skipped a beat. I thought to myself, it begins. They intend to probe my background. Yet my expression remained unchanged. I replied, Senior, please ask. Since you hold me in such high regard, I shall answer everything I know truthfully, hiding nothing. I see that you possess no cultivation base whatsoever. Why is that? Qin Xiaofeng's face showed clear doubt. With your mastery of divination, obtaining top-tier cultivation manuals and arts should not be difficult, should. Upon hearing this, I immediately assumed a look of helplessness and profound sorrow. I let out a long sigh. Respected seniors, you do not understand. It is not that this junior lacks the desire to cultivate, but rather I am unable to. Everyone present was struck with astonishment. Duguqing hurriedly asked, Sir, what do you mean by that? Is there some hidden reason behind this? I shall not conceal the truth from you. My Zhang family has practiced the art of divination for generations. To speak without modesty, in the divination circles of the Tianling realm, no one surpasses us. Us. I spoke slowly, my voice carrying a hint of pride mixed with melancholy. However, the art of divination involves prying into the secrets of the heavens. The cause and effect of the Heavenly Dao is sensitive. It does not permit the Zhang family to touch the path of cultivation, as this art is a unique gift bestowed by the heavens. Fortunately, the Heavenly Dao is merciful, even in its restrictions. While it forbids the Zhang family from cultivating, it grants us the power of heaven-defying divination. The price of this art is that one may never cultivate for the rest of their life. Furthermore, the Zhang family can only have one successor in each generation. This ancestral art has never seen an exception to this rule since time immemorial. Having said that, my eyes welled with tears, my entire being radiating an indescribable sorrow, and my voice choked with emotion. Everyone present, including Long Yi, could not help but be moved. In a cultivation world where the strong prey on the weak in strength is the only truth, there is nothing more terrifying than being unable to cultivate at all. However, the eyes of Duguqing and Qin Xiaofeng betrayed a different light, clearly harboring their own suspicious thoughts. I cast a sidelong glance and noted that these two old men were truly deep in cunning. Seeing this, I decided to add more fuel to the fire to completely extinguish any intent they had of coveting our divination techniques. Beyond this, our Zhang family appears to suffer from a curse of the Heavenly Dao. Everyone shuddered upon hearing this, with one person hurriedly asking, "Sir, tell us, what kind of curse?" "A curse of extinction." I articulated every word, my voice heavy with despair. The Zhang family was once a great clan with a flourishing lineage, but ever since the art of divination was mastered to the highest level, the number of people in our clan began to dwindle, each generation faring worse than the last. By my generation, I am the only one left, without even a single heir to carry on the family name. Dugu Kings and Qin Xiaofeng were horrified, their expressions immediately turning grave. Regardless of whether my words were true or false, they dared not gamble with such a fate. If it were merely the inability to cultivate, they could have easily found a descendant from a minor branch to apprentice under me and learn the art of divination, without affecting the continuation of their own family line. However, when the curse of absolute extinction of one's lineage is added to the equation, they are forced to reconsider. No one is willing to sacrifice their entire clan for the sake of a divination technique. Yet, if such a dire curse is attached, they must think very carefully before taking action. No one wishes to gamble away the future and the ancestral legacy of their family for the sake of some bizarre art. Seeing that I had temporarily deceived the two of them, I breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. I was truly terrified that these two old foxes would disregard all consequences and insist on seizing that fictitious hereditary forbidden art. If that were to happen, I would be in deep trouble. Just at this moment, Dugu Qing stood up, cupped his hands toward me and spoke, "Sir, I have an unreasonable request. I hope you will not refuse." "City Lord, please speak freely. This junior will certainly do his utmost. It is just that this junior is merely a mortal with no cultivation base. I fear I may be of little help to the City Lord." I feigned humility and said, "Sir, there is no need for such modesty. Naturally, I would not make things difficult for you." A look of earnestness appeared on Dugu Qing's face. "I only wish to invite you to cast a divination for me." I immediately replied, "Since the City Lord thinks so highly of this junior, I will naturally not refuse. However, this ancestral forbidden art of mine has one rule that is quite ruthless. To ensure this art calculates the truth without a single error, it requires a sacrificial offering of equal value to communicate with the heavens and manifest the signs. If the signs are not accurate, it would ruin a great matter for the City Lord." Haha, I thought it was some difficult task. Dugu Qing laughed heartily, entirely unconcerned. "Sir is quite right. How could I ask you to perform a divination without a proper offering? I naturally have one prepared. In that case, City Lord, please tell me what you wish to divine. Let me calculate what the cost will be." Dugu King let out a long sigh, his tone filled with a measure of anxiety. "To be frank with you, I have a daughter named Dugu Yue who has been headstrong and unruly since she was a child, making her very difficult to discipline. A few days ago, she secretly fled from me to venture into the pugilistic world, leaving behind only a letter before disappearing without a trace. I am deeply worried. I hope you can calculate her current whereabouts so that my heart may be at ease." "City Lord, you need not worry. This junior will calculate it immediately." I confidently patted my chest, closed my eyes, and pretended to perform a hand seal while summoning the system in my mind. "System, what is the price to calculate the whereabouts of Dugu Yue?" The system's voice immediately echoed in my mind. "This divination requires 3,000 spirit stones or items of equivalent value." I opened my eyes and said to Dugu Qing, "City Lord, please provide 5,000 spirit stones or an item of equal value to serve as the sacrificial offering." I chuckled inwardly. I truly am too kind-hearted, having only charged him an extra 2,000 spirit stones, a testament to my professional integrity. Dugu Qing did not waste any words, producing a warm jade pendant from his storage artifact and handing it to me. The object was a white jade dragon pattern pendant, radiating a faint spiritual aura. It was surely worth at least 5,000 spirit stones. I received the jade with both hands, feeling its warmth and exquisite texture. In the next moment, the system automatically appraised the value of the white jade dragon pattern pendant. It contained pure spiritual energy capable of assisting a cultivator's progress and was valued at 10,000 spirit stones. Good heavens, this old man is truly wealthy. The system instantly absorbed the jade pendant, leaving not a single trace behind. Dugu Qing and Qin Xiaofeng frowned in unison as they watched the jade pendant vanish from my hands without a trace. Even with their void refinement cultivation level, they were completely unable to perceive how the object had disappeared. This only served to deepen their fear and reverence for my mysterious arts. The moment the jade vanished, a line of text visible only to me appeared before my eyes. Dugu Ye is 18 this year at the 7th level of the Nascent Soul stage and is currently located in Fengming City, gathering with friends at Suiyun Pavilion. I cursed inwardly. The wealth of these prominent families is truly formidable. To have reached the 7th level of the Nascent Soul at only 18 years of age. Was she raised on immortal elixirs? I immediately disclosed the details of Dugu Yue's whereabouts to Dugu Qing. Upon hearing this, the great burden in Dugu Qing's heart finally lifted, and he immediately ordered his subordinates to depart for Fengming City, instructing them to bring the girl back to Suiyun Pavilion at once. Use the teleportation array, waste no time, and ensure there are no errors. Understood, City Lord. A cultivator at the 7th level of the spirit severing stage acknowledged the order, his figure flashing and vanishing before everyone's eyes. In less than half a stick of incense, that 7th level spirit severing cultivator returned with a lovely young girl, though her brows carried a hint of arrogance and spirited defiance as they hurried up to the terrace. The young lady wore a pink dress and possessed an elegant figure. Although her expression remained somewhat unwilling, she still politely paid her respects to the significant figures gathered around. Greetings. Hello, uncles. Dugu Ching explained to the crowd with a hint of embarrassment. My daughter is stubborn and lacks understanding of worldly affairs. I have made a fool of myself before you all. Little you, come over here to this old man. Qin Xiaofeng greeted her with a smile, his gaze filled with grandfatherly affection. He and Dugu Ching were sworn brothers who had watched Dugu Yue grow up, so he deeply doted on this mischievous girl. Dugu Yue immediately ran to Qin Xiaofeng's side with a smile, affectionately pulling on his arm and acting spoiled, but she quickly noticed my presence. Everyone at the table was a familiar face from a Immortal city. I was the only stranger, and the youngest among them. What was even more absurd was that this unknown young man occupied the seat of honor. Her father and Uncle Qin sat on either side, attending to him with great reverence. Immediately, an intense curiosity toward me arose within her gaze sharp and scrutinizing. Yoer, why have you not greeted Uncle Zhang yet? Dugu King said to Dugu Yue. City Lord Dugu, please, there is no need for this. I waved my hands, feigning alarm. What talent or virtue does this junior possess to dare accept being called uncle by the young lady? To do so would truly shorten my lifespan. Sir, please do not refuse. Du Guqing said with a laugh. I find you very much to my liking, sir. If you do not mind, let us become sworn brothers. It is only natural for Yor to address you as uncle. Yor, why are you still standing there in a daze? Du Guyue looked at me, a man who was not much older than herself, her lips twitching, her heart filled with resentment. This fellow looked even younger than she was. So by what right was she being forced to call him uncle? But unable to defy her father's command, she could only reluctantly perform a perfunctory salute, her tone indifferent. Greetings, Uncle Jiang. I smiled bitterly to myself. This was quite a sudden and staggering promotion in status. During the banquet, Dugugyu overheard the conversation and realized it was I who had divined her whereabouts, leading to her being captured and brought back. Her already dissatisfied mood darkened even further. Her gaze toward me grew even more fierce, as if I were an irreconcilable enemy, especially when she discovered that I possessed no cultivation base whatsoever. Being a mere mortal, a strange smile flickered across her face, her eyes brimming with a hint of calculation. It was clear she had marked me as a target for her revenge. Her gaze made me feel incredibly uneasy, and I felt an urgent need to find a way to leave Immortal City early, otherwise, sooner or later, I would fall victim to this little witch's vengeance. After the feast concluded and everyone was satisfied, Duguqing and Qin Xiao Feng entered into a relentless dispute regarding my future residence. Duguqing wanted to settle me near the city lord's manor. Qin Xiaofeng, however, wished to bring me back to the Qin estate. Both desired to keep me under their watch to inquire about my mysterious techniques at any moment and to facilitate their surveillance of me. Finally, losing patience, Du Guye suggested that if neither would yield, they should simply gift him a residence within the city. Both the city lord's manor and the Qin estate were nearby. Anyone who wished to see him could do so at any time without further conflict. This proposal effectively resolved the dispute between the two. Du Guqing and Qin Xiaofeng both agreed, and immediately each dispatched a trusted cultivator to escort me to my new dwelling. My heart was as clear as a mirror. The two confidants they sent, while ostensibly escorts, were in truth there to monitor my every move. As for the gift of the house, they merely wished to treat me like a captive tool, so they could easily exploit me and pry into the secrets of my mysterious arts later on. But when I thought of the earnings from today's divination and the system rewards, the gloom in my heart was swept away. After all, I had gained immensely. After a long day's work, I could finally rest and inspect today's harvest. Cupping my hands, I spoke to the two confidants of Du Guqing and Qin Xiaofeng. Two seniors, you have worked hard. The journey must have been exhausting. Why not return and rest early? There are servants here to attend to me. There is no need to trouble you two further. Sir, you flatter us. It is our honor to serve you. It is no trouble at all. Du Guqing's confidant was a middle-aged man with a short beard, wearing a green robe. He possessed an elegant temperament, resembling a scholar more than a cultivator. His name was Ming Shifei, a cultivator of the mid-stage transformation realm with a calm and introverted personality. Qin Xiaofeng's confidant was a burly, bald man of great stature with dark skin, appearing honest and straightforward. Named Jia Bao, his cultivation was also at the mid-stage transformation realm. Though blunt in nature, he possessed a keen mind, truly a man of hidden depth beneath a rugged exterior. The residence gifted by Du Qing was in a prime location. It was very close to the city lord's manor and the Qin estate. Furthermore, it was exceptionally quiet and elegant, with a spacious courtyard and all the necessary pavilions and terraces. To possess such a rare and beautiful residence in a crowded place like a Immortal City was undoubtedly a symbol of high status. Not only that, but the courtyard was fully staffed with servants, each efficient and swift, with the lowest among them at the Qi refinement stage. This was clearly the result of Du Guqing's meticulous planning. From this, one could see that Du Guqing handled matters with absolute precision. Even when he intended to keep me captive, he maintained a flawless facade, leaving no room for anyone to find fault. I even found my resolve wavering slightly. Perhaps staying in a Immortal City as a divine diviner revered by the world, with no worries about food or clothing for the rest of my life, would not be so bad. But that thought only flickered for a moment before vanishing, and I immediately shook my head to dispel it. The world of cultivation is fraught with danger. Only when one possesses sufficient strength can they truly stand firm. living under another's roof would lead to misfortune sooner or later. I spoke a few words to dismiss Ming Shifei and Xiebao, telling them to return and report, then followed a young maidservant to the bedroom. I wish to rest. You may withdraw, I said to the young maid. I had originally expected a beautiful lady-in-waiting, but to my surprise it was a young girl of about 13 or 14, dressed in light green attire with delicate features, appearing very obedient. Master, your servant will wait outside the door. If you have any instructions, please just call out. Her voice was soft and sweet, and her professional conduct was impeccable. Her respectful and polite manner made me feel quite unaccustomed. There is no need. You should go and rest early. Do not wait here. I couldn't bear the thought of lying comfortably in my room while a poor young girl stood guard outside, for I would never be able to sleep peacefully. The girl was stunned for a moment, clearly caught by surprise. She confirmed it with me several times, and only when she saw I was serious did she joyfully salute. Then I shook my head and retreated into my room, glancing over the furnishings within. The tables, chairs, and bed were all crafted from premium materials. Everything was arranged neatly, and in the corner stood a stand displaying various antiques. It held a few simple decorations. The overall atmosphere was elegant and comfortable. However, I had no mind to appreciate such things. I grew impatient and sat by the bed to summon the system. System, check my acquisitions for today. The next moment, the system interface appeared. Host possesses 110,000 points of fortune. Possessions include a storage ring containing 150,000 spirit stones, a heavenly mystery token, mastered skills, god-tier strange arts, exchangeable items, and the system shop. Seeing that my fortune had reached over 110,000 points, I was overjoyed and immediately opened the system shop. The shop was filled with a vast array of goods, every type of cultivation technique, divine ability, medicinal elixir, dharma treasure, and artifact imaginable, leaving me dazzled. I had previously thought 110,000 fortune was a substantial amount, but after viewing the exchangeable items, I immediately lost my composure. The One Breath Becomes Three Purities technique, a god-tier manual created by the great sage Taiching Laozi, capable of manifesting clones with strength identical to the original body, devoid of any weaknesses or limitations. It allows for a maximum of 3 clones, a truly marvelous utility. Price, 10 billion fortune. 5-colored divine light, a god-tier technique created by the peacock King Kong Xuan, the offspring of the phoenix. Once mastered, it can sweep up all things under heaven. Any spiritual energy or dharma treasure can be refined by it. Price, 800 million fortune. 9-turn resurrection pill, a divine medicinal elixir capable of bringing the dead back to life and regenerating immortals, priced at 100 million fortune. The Zuxian sword, an innate spirit treasure from the ancient heir with peerless power, capable of slaying immortals and annihilating demons, priced at 1.5 billion fortune. These treasures made me salivate, but seeing the prices left me dazed. The things I desired were far beyond my reach. The items I could afford, such as ordinary chi refining elixirs or basic cultivation manuals, were of no use to my current predicament. It is not that I am overly ambitious, but my current situation is far from ideal. Mistress Qing and Qin Xiaofeng, those two old foxes, clearly harbor ill intentions. The only reason they remain courteous to me now, aside from my remaining utility, is the significant deterrent posed by the Immortal King Ling Xiao. I have since acquired some basic knowledge regarding the cultivation world, knowing that the majesty of an immortal king cannot be violated, which is why these two dare not move against me recklessly. Yet, it is difficult to say how long they will maintain this facade. Furthermore, being raised and confined by them in Dingshan City will certainly pose a major obstacle to the advancement of my strength. Especially after seeing so many magnificent items within the system, my motivation to perform divination has grown even stronger. Only by divining frequently and accumulating ample fortune and spirit stones can I exchange for techniques to elevate my power. Only then did I truly break free from their control to stand firm within the cultivation world. Without delay, I commanded the system to open the lucky draw wheel. Each spin on the system's wheel costs only 100 luck points, yet it carries the probability of yielding items worth 10 million in value. Luck points. If fortune smiles upon me, I could even obtain god-tier cultivation manuals and divine artifacts. I calculated my current balance. With 110,000 luck points on hand, I could perform exactly 100 spins. 1,100 spins. Even a mere worm should be able to transform into a dragon with that many attempts, should it not? My heart surged with anticipation and a smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. Immediately, a massive wheel manifested before my eyes. The wheel was densely packed with countless techniques, divine artifacts, medicinal elixirs, and rare materials. The indicator needle spun incessantly, its velocity increasing with every passing second. My heart hammered in rhythm with the spinning needle. I was so anxious that my palms began to sweat. As time elapsed, the needle's rotation gradually slowed. My heart felt as though it were hanging by a thread. I stared intensely at the needle, chanting silently, God-tier manual, God-tier manual. However, in the next moment, a blinding golden radiance erupted, instantly engulfing the entire room. Nearly blinded by the sudden brilliance, I instinctively squeezed my eyes shut. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 volume of the God-tier manual, 8-9 Profound Art. As this is the host's first draw, the newcomer's blessing is activated, granting 2 additional rewards, the God-tier divine ability Earth Folding Step, and 1 divine beast egg of the 3-legged golden crow. As the system's notification ceased and the golden light faded, I slowly opened my eyes to see 2 thin ancient scrolls and a crimson gold egg floating silently before me. emitting a faint, ethereal glow. My gaze fixed upon one of the scrolls on which 4 powerful calligraphic characters were inscribed, 8-9 profound art. My breathing became ragged and my heart raced uncontrollably. I knew full well the history of the 8-9 profound art. This was the very technique cultivated by Yongzhen in the Investiture of the Gods, the supreme protective art of the Taoist sect. 8 is the ultimate yin number, while 9 is the ultimate yang number. Combined, they form the greatest Taoist art, corresponding to the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams, containing the fundamental truths of heaven and earth. Though it may still fall short of saint-tier techniques like the 1 qi into 3 purities, it depends entirely on what it is being compared against. According to the system's assessment, the 8-9 profound art is a peak god-tier technique of immense power. Most importantly, mastering the 8-9 profound art implies the ability to comprehend a myriad of profound methods, including but not limited to shapeshifting at will and an indestructible Vajra body. Immune to 100 poisons, capable of soaring through the skies and burrowing into the earth, among other divine abilities, it is truly an essential cultivation technique for self-preservation. Whether traveling far ensuring one's survival or slaying beasts to ascend in rank, it is indispensable. I stared, dumbfounded, at the 8-9 mysterious art manual before me. I could not stop grinning. I had struck gold. I had truly struck gold this time. The system interface immediately displayed the detailed introduction of the 8-9 mysterious art. The 8-9 mysterious art, a god-tier cultivation technique, is divided into the first 8 layers and the final 9 layers. The detailed introduction describes it as a god-tier technique split into the initial 8 stages and the subsequent 9 stages. The first 8 stages correspond to the 8 realms of the Tianling realm: body tempering, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, spirit severing, void refinement, and Dao seeking. Once the first 8 stages are mastered, one's physical body becomes sanctified, peerless among those of the same cultivation level. Mastering the final 9 stages allows one to shatter the void, ascend to the immortal realm, and achieve the Dao of Hunyuan Wuji. It is no exaggeration to say that in the current Tianling realm, there is absolutely nothing that can compare to this divine technique. As long as I master the 8-9 mysterious art, even a fool in combat would become invincible among their peers. If one's natural talent is sufficient, defeating enemies across higher cultivation levels is far from impossible. Following this, I quickly commanded the system to learn the 8-9 mysterious art. The manual instantly transformed into a beam of light and surged into the center of my brow. I felt as if I had become one with the Tao, with the spiritual energy feeling remarkably intimate. Operating the technique instinctively, the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to possess a consciousness of its own, proactively flooding into my dantian. Caught off guard, I hurriedly ceased the circulation of energy. Now was not the appropriate time for deep cultivation. Ming Shifei and Jie Bao were within the courtyard, and the commotion caused by my cultivation would surely draw them here immediately to investigate. To mislead Guqing and Qin Xiaofeng, I had claimed that I was unable to cultivate. At the very least, I could not reveal my progress now. I forced myself to suppress the urge to circulate the technique further. Turning my attention to the remaining 2 rewards, I first looked at the other manual, upon which 4 large characters were written: shrinking ground to an inch. This too was a divine ability. To call shrinking ground to an inch a cultivation technique is an understatement. It is a profound divine ability. It possesses no specific rank and is easily mastered. However, the power of this divine ability depends entirely upon one's own cultivation level. The higher the cultivation base, the greater the speed. I was ecstatic. Upon learning it immediately, it transformed into a streak of light that flew directly into the center of my brow. I carefully digested the core essence of the technique. I began to experiment within my room. Taking a single step, my vision blurred. I traveled instantly from the bedside to the other side of the room, crashing headlong into the wall. I clutched my aching head, yet an expression of excitement remained on my face. 2 techniques, one for combat, one for evasion. If you cannot win the fight, you flee. It seemed perfectly logical. After testing earth shrinking to inches, I turned my attention to the final reward, emboldened by the quality of the previous 2. I was filled with anticipation for this prize. An egg the size of a human head, shimmering and radiating a heat so intense it was nearly unbearable. The air around the surface of the egg was warped by the extreme temperature. I reached out to touch it, clearly sensing the intense heat on its surface. It was no exaggeration to say that if one were to place a raw chicken egg upon it, it would be cooked within minutes, yet this heat did not burn me in the slightest. I was deeply curious as to what kind of egg this truly was. After studying it for half a day, I finally managed to discern the egg's origin from the system. This egg belongs to the legendary divine beast, the 3-legged golden crow. Host, drip a drop of your essence blood onto the surface of the egg. It will hatch and recognize you as its master, advancing in strength in synchronization with your own cultivation until it reaches its complete form, capable of rivaling the blazing sun itself. The 3-legged golden crow, I exclaimed in astonishment once more. The 3-legged golden crow is renowned throughout the realms. I had heard of its legend long ago. It is said that it is the soul of the sun, residing upon the divine Fusong tree, a divine bird of the eastern sea, existing on the same level as the phoenix and the vermilion bird. Gritting my teeth, I bit my middle finger to draw a drop of essence blood and dripped it onto the egg. A fracture instantly appeared on the shell, as if something within was struggling to break through and emerge. Seeing this, I suddenly realized that the birth of a divine beast would surely trigger heavenly phenomena. If that happened, Elder Qing and Qin Xiaofeng would undoubtedly discover my anomaly. Upon this thought, I hurriedly clutched the egg, preventing the three-legged golden crow from emerging while frantically calling upon the system to find a solution. However, the creature inside the egg possessed a strength far too great, and I currently remain in a mortal body. I was unable to suppress it, and before the system could even respond, the golden crow egg shattered. This is the end, I thought, looking at the fragments of the golden crow in my hands in utter despair, yet the earth-shattering phenomena I had envisioned did not manifest. The golden crow egg had simply split into two pieces, mundane and unremarkable. A small soot-black bird appeared before my eyes, its gaze sharp and intelligent as it stared directly at me. I could even discern a flicker of human-like expression within its eyes. With dark lines across my face, I stared at this black duck-like creature, beginning to doubt the very nature of reality. The little black bird appeared incredibly frail, and after hatching, it curled into the palm of my hand and drifted off to sleep. I carefully placed it by my pillow and reopened the system's shop, searching for an item capable of concealing my cultivation level and the disturbances caused by my practice. A few minutes later, 50,000 spirit stones vanished from my storage ring, replaced by a silvery white spherical stone that appeared in my hand. This was the concealed moonstone. Once worn, it not only isolates me from external detection and mass energy fluctuations, but also enhances one's personal aura. Paired with my cover as a fortune teller, it is a perfect match. I did not sleep throughout the night, focusing instead on practicing the 8-9 profound art. With the aid of the concealed moonstone, I had no fear that my fluctuations would be discovered by the two Ming Shifei. The truth proved that my foresight was entirely necessary. The 8th-9 profound art truly lives up to its reputation as a supreme cultivation manual. As a peak technique within the investiture of the gods, once I set it in motion, my body became like a sponge, frantically absorbing the spiritual energy from the void. The spiritual energy in the void seemed to have found its home, actively pouring into my dantian. The speed of my cultivation was startlingly fast. In a single short night, I had cultivated straight to the 3rd level of the mortal shedding realm. Though once I breached the 3rd level, the speed of my progress began to plateau. Yet even so, if news of a mortal cultivating straight to the 3rd level of the mortal shedding realm in one night were to spread, it would be enough to drive the cultivators of the heaven spirit realm into a frenzy. I carefully sensed my current state of cultivation. Having become a cultivator, I felt my body had become incomparably clearer than before. Every part of my body was brimming with power. With every breath, it felt as though I were purifying myself. I clenched my fists, sensing the immense power hidden within my seemingly thin frame. I formed a hand seal, and the spiritual power within me surged, instantly enveloping my entire body. In the blink of an eye, my handsome appearance transformed into that of a frail, hunched old man. This is the art of transformation, the 72 changes inherent to the 8-9 profound art. It is merely a cultivation technique to avoid the 3 calamities and 9 disasters, and its transformation art stops short at mere physical mimicry, whereas the 8 transformations profound art is the true divine protective manual of the Taoist path. To what extent does the heart and intent reach? All things under heaven can be transformed. Taking the primordial infinite great Tao as the foundation, reaching the pinnacle allows one to refine the physical body into that of a saint, becoming an indestructible diamond, impervious to all techniques, and perhaps even attaining the primordial infinite Tao. Although my current cultivation is only at the 3rd layer of the mortal shedding realm, I am far from unleashing the true wonders of the 8 transformations profound art. Yet, even with this simple transformation technique, unless a great cultivator well-versed in the arts of transformation arrives, it would be difficult for even the likes of Elder Qing to discern my true identity. However, the spiritual energy consumption of this transformation art is truly staggering. With my current spiritual energy, I can maintain it for less than 3 minutes. Despite cultivating all night, I did not feel the slightest exhaustion. On the contrary, my spirit felt even more invigorated. I stood up, exhaling a breath of turbid air, then pushed open the door to welcome the dawn. As I stretched, the sunlight hit my face, catching the eyes of Xiao Ling, who had been waiting outside my room since early morning. Gazing in a daze, she realized that her master seemed more handsome than yesterday, though she could not quite put into words how. In short, it was an incredibly pleasant feeling. After a moment of distraction, she realized I was watching her with a smile. The innocent young girl's face flushed a deep red, and she lowered her head, speaking in a voice as soft as a mosquito's hum. "Master, breakfast is prepared. Let this servant assist you with your morning wash, and once finished, you may proceed to dine." I nodded, and Xiaoling immediately added, "Master, Mr. Min and Mr. Shi are already dining in the front hall." After speaking, she nimbly arranged the washing basin for me with care. She respectfully served me as I washed my face. Min Fi and Jai Bao were already eating, so I greeted them both and took my seat to join the meal. Just as I was about to speak, a servant rushed in, breathless, and announced, "Old Master, Lady Dugu has arrived." Hearing this, my eyes narrowed as I wondered to myself, why has she come here? Before the words could fully settle, Dugunwet stepped into the main hall, calmly seating herself in the guest chair to sip tea at her leisure. "Lady Dugu, what brings you here?" I greeted her with a nod and settled comfortably into the host's chair. Dugu Nuet arched an eyebrow, her face brimming with visible displeasure. As the true princess of Dengxian City, and one of the supreme geniuses of the heavenly spirit realm, no one had ever dared to treat her with such indifference. To say nothing of the talented young men who swarmed around her daily, even the older generation of experts would always offer her respectful greetings upon meeting. Having been raised in the lap of luxury, Dugu Nuit had never once been slighted in this manner. Furthermore, the fact that she had been dragged back home this time was entirely due to this fortune teller standing before her. Because I had accurately divined the death date of the immortal, Dugu Than and the others had long since issued orders to seal the information, never revealing it to Dugu Nuit. Thus, she merely viewed me as a lucky fraud, who had coincidentally gained the favor of her father and Tan. Hu Fong, assuming that my ability to track her whereabouts must have been a calculated scheme. The manner she offered me yesterday was merely a ploy to facilitate her revenge later on. As a mature nascent soul cultivator, she would not strike at me within the city lord's residence, lest she cause trouble for her father. Dugu Nuit let out a cold snort, the only response to my greeting. I noticed her attitude toward me was rather peculiar, and I felt quite perplexed. I was confident I had never offended her. We had only met once the previous evening, and had barely exchanged a few words. Lady Dugu, do you have some business here today? I fought back the urge to cast a divination to ask. I did not wish to squander my single free daily divination on such trivial matters. I ask you, was it you who revealed my whereabouts to my father yesterday? As soon as Dugu Nuit mentioned this, her tone turned intensely resentful. She had gone to such great lengths to sneak out, only to be dragged back before she had even begun to enjoy herself. What caused her the most humiliation was that she had been boasting to her friends just moments prior about how easily she could evade her father's control. The result was being apprehended right in front of her peers by Dugu Than's trusted subordinates, who showed her no face whatsoever. The person who captured her possessed the cultivation of the spirit-severing realm. She was no match for them. Moreover, those men were elders who had watched her grow up. She could not even scold them for fear of damaging their relationship. They were the very talents her father had gone to great lengths to recruit. She still possessed enough sense of the bigger picture, so when she heard it was I who had divined her movements, she had already labeled me as a top-tier troublemaker. In her eyes, I was nothing more than a charlatan fortune-teller. Hearing this, I Zhongbai immediately understood the situation. I could discern Dugu Yue's thoughts with 70 to 80% accuracy. What in the world is this? Is she here to seek revenge on me? I thought to myself, I am not going to accept this blame. You were the one calculating Dugu King's fortune. The system performed the actual calculation. The system took the money, and I am merely an intermediary who collects a small fee and a bit of luck points. Even though I didn't even get a splash of the rewards, I still answered calmly, indeed, I calculated it. Do you take me for a 3-year-old child? Dugu Yu did not believe a word I said. I have seen plenty of fortune tellers. All of them speak in vague, mysterious riddles. How could anyone possibly calculate the coordinates with such precision as you did? The two of you caught me that day without taking a single wrong turn. Miss Dugu, your whereabouts were indeed calculated by me. I shrugged helplessly. Although I wanted to tell her that it was actually the system's doing, such an explanation was even more absurd. She would never believe it. Dugu Yue let out a cold snort and leaned back, her face clearly showing that she did not buy my story at all. I do not know what you said to my father to make him trust you, but it is useless. I have already seen through your petty tricks. Miss Dugu may have some misunderstandings about me, but I am a fortune teller whose reputation is well deserved. Your movements were truly calculated by me. Your tongue remains sharp, I see. Very well, I shall make you admit defeat. Dugu Ye was driven to a mocking laugh by my persistence. You claim to be skilled in divination, do you not? Then calculate for me. Who will be the first person to walk through that door in a moment? She asked, pointing toward the entrance. The main hall door. This was no problem. My heart stirred. An ingenious idea immediately crossed my mind. If I could turn Dugu Ye into a potential client, it would be a stroke of brilliance. However, I have a rule. I wonder if Miss Dugu is aware of it? Let's hear it. Dugu Yu said with curiosity, clearly wanting to see what kind of scheme I was concocting now. I rubbed my thumb and index finger together, intentionally putting on an expression of greed, and said, my divinations require payment before I begin. Rest assured, it will be worth every cent. I never swindle the young or deceive the old. Dugu Wei said nothing, simply tossing a pouch of spirit stones from her storage ring toward me. I weighed it in my hand, feeling its significant heft. It contained at least 1,000 stones. Truly, this young miss of the Dugu clan is remarkably generous. I rejoiced inwardly. My desire to secure her as a long client intensified. Money is plentiful, but it is not easily earned. Dugu Ye tilted her chin arrogantly and said, if your calculation is inaccurate, how shall we settle this? I shall leave the punishment to your discretion, miss, I replied confidently while silently summoning the system. System, perform the calculation. This amount of spirit stones should be sufficient, correct? The system did not hesitate, immediately deducting 100 stones from the pouch. It then confirmed that the divination was successful. The first person to enter through that door will be Jay Bao. Receiving the system's confirmation, I closed my eyes, formed a seal with my right hand, and feigned a profound, enigmatic air while pretending to calculate. Seeing this, Dugu Yue became even more convinced that I was a charlatan. Every fortune teller she had encountered previously carried the bearing of an expert, complete with an array of flashy props, nothing like my own perfunctory display. Furthermore, she had once witnessed a true master of deduction, whose presence was far more commanding than this act of mine. A moment later, I slowly opened my eyes, smiled, and said, the first person to walk into this hall in a moment shall be the senior Jay Bao. Upon hearing this, Dugu Yue's expression shifted to one of malicious anticipation. She turned to a servant standing outside the door and commanded, you come in. The servant Lu San looked at the two of us in the hall with astonishment, his face instantly turning deathly pale. This was clearly casting him into the fires of a dilemma. One of us was the most pampered young princess of the Dugu clan, and the other was rumored to be held in high regard by the two grand masters of the city. He could afford to offend neither. Do not dawdle, come in at once. Dugu Yue urged impatiently, adding, rest assured, with me here no one shall harm you. Having said this, she cast a provocative glance in my direction, clearly intending to expose my deceit in front of everyone. Ultimately buckling under the pressure of Dugu Yue's authority, the servant turned and stepped into the room. Yet consumed by fear, he moved at a glacial pace. His movements seemed to convey that this situation was entirely against his will. Sluggish and hesitant. Do you still? Dugu Yu looked at the sluggish servant and immediately revealed her true colors, her tone becoming incredibly sharp and aggressive. Looking at the sharp-tongued Dugu Yu before me, I found it impossible to associate her with the obedient, sensible, and somewhat mischievous young maiden she once appeared to be. Yesterday, the servant, startled by Dugu Yue's sharp reprimand, trembled so violently that his leg gave out and he collapsed onto the ground. He had long heard of Dugu Yue's notorious reputation. To call her the demoness of Dongxin City would not be an exaggeration. She possesses an exalted status as the youngest and most pampered daughter of Fan Shu. As the daughter of the city lord, she was born a natural beauty. Gifted with heaven-defying talent, she is regarded as the youngest nascent soul cultivator in the heavenly spirit realm, surrounded by countless titles. In Dingshan City, it could be said that Dugu Yue grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth. She could have anything she desired. Not only did the experts within the city lord's manor dote upon her, but even the heads of the prominent clans in Dongshan City went to great lengths to shield and protect her. The servant sat slumped on the ground, tears welling up in his eyes, yet he had to grit his teeth, not daring to let them fall. What a piece of trash. If you dare to waste any more time, I will break your legs. Dugu Ye shouted once more. The servant was trembling so hard with fear, looking at her with a pitiable expression, trying several times before he could shakily stand up. He took a step forward, drawing ever closer to the entrance. As for the Xiaobao I mentioned, there was still absolutely no sign of him. Dugu Ye watched the servant, who was now less than 3 steps from the door. Feeling immensely smug, she turned her head to look at me provocatively, sneering, "Heh, you fraudulent fortune-teller, what do you think now? Are you ready to admit defeat?" She desperately wanted to see a glimmer of panic in my eyes, but instead she saw me as if I were in deep meditation. My eyes half closed, the corners of my mouth curled into a faint smile, seemingly not the least bit hurried, as if the outcome was far from decided. "Miss Dugu, do not be so impatient." I spoke calmly, my heart without a single ripple. Although I harbored some complaints about the stinginess of the system, I never doubted its professionalism. Feeling humiliated, Dugu Yue let out a cold huff and turned to encourage the servant. "Only 2 more steps. As long as you cross this threshold, I will have you transferred to the city lord's manor to serve as a steward." Upon hearing of such a fortunate opportunity, the servant's trembling vanished instantly. His eyes lit up and he hurried toward the door. Just as he was a single step away from the main hall, a towering figure as solid as an iron fortress suddenly appeared at the entrance. "Get out of the way, you short-sighted fool." Shibao furrowed his brows. With a casual wave of his hand, he brushed Lu San aside and strode directly into the front hall. Dugu Yue's eyes widened in disbelief as she watched Lu San collapse to the ground under Xiaobao's sweep, followed by an expression of extreme fury crossing her face, yet she found herself unable to take any action. Xiaobao looked at me with a bewildered expression, then glanced at the seething Dugu Yue. It was clear he had no idea what was transpiring, and he wanted to ask me exactly what was going on. I, however, kept my eyes fixed on my nose and my thoughts centered on my heart, sitting composed and at ease in the master's chair, offering Xiaobao a polite salute without speaking a word. Xiaobao was momentarily stunned, but he soon realized the situation, sensing that he had perhaps interrupted something important for Dugu Yue. He scratched his head in embarrassment and stepped back, hoping to retreat and avoid the impending storm. Unfortunately, at that moment, Ming Shifei arrived, blocking the doorway and cutting off Xiaobao's path of retreat, while Dugu Yue shouted in discontent, her tone brimming with grievance and rage. "Uncle Zis, I just remembered that I have a batch of medicinal pills that have yet to finish refining. I must go check on them immediately, lest I ruin the refinement," Xiaobao said, quick-wittedly. Once he finished speaking, he attempted to push past Ming Shifei to make his escape, but Ming Shifei gave him no such opportunity. Channeling the internal spiritual energy within his body, he stood as immovable as a rock, his feet seemingly rooted to the floor. "Uncle Shi, since when did you know how to refine medicinal pills?" Dugu Yue did not hold back in exposing his falsehood. "Back then, you hadn't even finished reading the list of pill manuals before you started falling asleep." With his lie laid bare by Dugu Yue, Xiaobao's face grew even more awkward, and he had no choice but to turn around and scratch his head, obediently sitting down in the chair nearby, no longer daring to stir. Upon seeing Ming Shifei at the door, Dugu Yu reigned in some of her fury, rising to offer a respectful bow. "Greetings, sir." Ming Shifei gave a slight nod, acknowledged me with a bow as well, then took a seat and began to ask, "So, what exactly happened here?" Shibao, acting like a child who had done something wrong, lowered his head to his chest, though his ears were perked up high, eager to hear how I would explain it. Dugu Yue's expression soured further upon hearing this, looking as if she had swallowed a bitter pill, and she pursed her lips, refusing to speak. Ming Shifei immediately turned his gaze toward me with an inquisitive look. I had no choice but to recount the events from beginning to end. Upon hearing this, Xiaobao realized he had inadvertently ruined Duguay's plans, and he dared not even meet her gaze. He thought to himself that this young lady truly had no sense of the vastness of the heavens and the earth. Mr. Jiang had calculated the immortal's day of death without a single error. Why would she go out of her way to provoke such a man? As for my divination skills, Shi Upal and Ming Shifei knew them best, and their hearts were already filled with reverence. Ming Shifei heard this and waved his hand, signaling the servants outside the door to withdraw. He then flicked his sleeve, instantly erecting a sound-dampening barrier that enclosed everyone within. He spoke gravely, "Young miss, I implore you to never repeat what is about to be said." Observing the solemn expression on Ming Shifei's face, Dugu Yue straightened her posture as well. She nodded solemnly, her heart filled with irrepressible curiosity. Could this charlatan before her actually possess genuine ability? Mr. Zhang's talent for divination is unparalleled and rarely seen in this world. The city lord himself holds Mr. Zhang in the highest regard, so I beg you, young miss, do not let your temperament get the better of you, lest you offend the master. Ming Shifei said slowly. Duguyo pursed her lips, still harboring disbelief. Ming Shifei, seeing her reaction, clearly understood what she was thinking, and spoke directly. Yesterday, the master accurately calculated the death of that immortal, without the slightest error. Upon hearing this, Duguyu stood stunned, a series of thoughts racing through her mind. The immortal's day of death, calculated without a single error. Duguya was well aware that an immortal had arrived in Dongxian City, and in fact she had successfully escaped the city during the chaos created by that very immortal. She had managed to slip away right under the nose of Ant Ching thanks to the turmoil he caused. Upon being captured and brought back, she had wondered why the immortal was nowhere to be seen. Never in her wildest dreams did she imagine that the man she had branded a charlatan had foretold his death. Ming Shifei's words had proven effective. At the very least, the way Dugu Yue looked at me had changed. While a hint of hostility remained, it was now tempered with a degree of caution. This feat was truly terrifying. That was an immortal after all. Immortals are beings of the high heavenly spirit realm, and for many years no cultivator had ascended to immortality. Although she was hailed as the youngest nascent soul cultivator in the heavenly spirit realm, even so the path to immortality was as difficult. In this world, the talented are as numerous as the clouds, yet those who can ascend to become immortals are few and far between. After all, Dugu Yu is merely an 18-year-old girl, with half a year still remaining until her coming-of-age ceremony. Hearing that I could divine a man's death was truly shocking. Fear naturally stirred within the heart of the immortal, and the protests he had intended to voice were swallowed back down. How could Ming Shifei, as her teacher and confidant, fail to understand the true feelings hidden within Dugu Yue's heart? Aside from Dugu Cheng, it can be said that Ming Shifei is among the few who understand Dugu Yue best. Young miss, the master is an honored guest of the city lord. You must absolutely ensure you do not disrupt his affairs. Furthermore, I implore you to keep the matter of the master divining the immortal's death today a strict secret. Seeing the solemn expression on Ming Shifei's face, Dugu Yu could only nod in agreement. She promised that she would certainly not speak of it recklessly. She was well aware of the gravity of the situation and understood what mattered most. However, whenever Dugu Yue saw my expression, that smile that did not quite reach my eyes, while I sat in the seat of honor, she found it detestable, and she immediately made a face at me. Sticking out her tongue, the mischievous nature of the young girl was revealed in an instant. Having effortlessly gained 100 luck points and earned nearly 1,000 spirit stones, my mood was excellent. This amount of spirit stones was more than enough for my daily expenses. Yet I did not intend to let Dugu Yu off so easily. It would be entirely unlike her to be bullied right at her doorstep and be forced to swallow her pride, especially considering that standing before me was a bona fide wealthy heiress. I immediately looked toward Dugu Yue, smiling as I said, Miss Dugu was merely being playful for a moment. Senior, you are too kind. Hearing my words, Dugu Yue glanced at me in surprise. She had not expected this swindler to speak in her defense. Miss Dugu and I are of a similar age, and it is only natural for us to exchange a few words of banter from time to time. I apologize for causing you two seniors such concern, I added, my tone dripping with sincerity. Seeing the sincerity in my demeanor, Ming Shifei nodded. Showing his understanding, Master Zhang is too polite. The city lord treats you as an equal and a peer. We dare not accept such formalities. And what of the seniors? Senior Qianming, you are too modest. Etiquette cannot be discarded so easily, so I must take a step back. Let us then interact as peers. I take the liberty of addressing you both as elder brothers. I hope you will not refuse. Although Ming Shifei and Xia Bao claimed it was improper, the favorability they held for me in their hearts grew significantly. We pushed and pulled for a moment, but eventually I succeeded in calling them Brother Min and Brother Xie. While we chatted, I began to realize that these two and Dugu shared a connection that was anything but ordinary. If I wanted to win over this wealthy young lady, these two would undoubtedly be the perfect breakthrough point. The three of us stood in the main hall, conversing freely, and from time to time I would recount humorous tales from my past life to enliven the atmosphere. In short, these two men were always criticizing one another. They had never been exposed to such intriguing and humorous anecdotes before. For a time, the hall was filled with an endless stream of laughter. Shi Bao had a generous and boisterous nature and was deeply fond of the stories I told. He looked at me with an expression that suggested he truly regretted not meeting me sooner. Through our conversation, I learned that Min Tiffy was Dugu Nuit's primary tutor, while Xia Bao was her martial arts master. However, due to their vastly different personalities, Xiaobao had always disliked Min Tifi, often mocking him for acting like a pedantic woman who cared only for hollow etiquette. Min Tifi in turn viewed Xiaobao as a man with no intellect, nothing more than a brute with strength but no strategy. In short, while they constantly bickered, they both cherished Dugu Nuit deeply, treating her as if she were their own daughter. However, a tragedy later occurred. During a martial duel, Xiaobao was gravely wounded and was saved by the life-saving intervention of Tan Hiofeng. To repay the debt of his life, he pledged his service to the Tan family. Tan Hiofeng was incredibly magnanimous, treating Xiaobao as a trusted confidant and nurturing him, entirely unconcerned by the fact that he had once belonged to the Dugu family. Feeling that switching his allegiance was a betrayal of the Dugu family, Xiaobao adamantly refused to let Dugu Nuet address him as master anymore, allowing her to call him that only once. Because of this, Min Thifi frequently berated him, calling him a stubborn mule. I sighed, remarking on how unpredictable life can be, before casually steering the conversation toward Dugu Nuet. After what had just transpired, although Dugu Nuet still harbored some dislike for me, she was no longer openly hostile. Furthermore, she was beginning to show some measure of respect for my skills in divination and calculation. By her own admission, I was a scoundrel with genuine talent. Miss Dugu is so young, yet she has already attained the early nascent soul stage. It truly inspires admiration. As we spoke, I occasionally let a look of immense envy flicker in my eyes, which left Dugu Guet feeling quite smug. When it came to this matter, Dugu Guet herself took great pride. Being the youngest nascent soul cultivator in the Tianling realm was not merely an empty boast. Regarding this as her martial arts master, Shibao was also incredibly proud, hovering nearby like a doting father boasting about his daughter without pause. He demonstrated to me just how exceptional Duguit's talent truly was. Naturally, the talent of Miss Nuiter is that of a top-tier prodigy even when measured against the entire Tianling realm. Xiaobao thumped his chest and declared with confidence, although she still lags slightly behind the top 10 prodigies on the Heaven's Pride ranking, Yueir is still young. Eventually she will surely trample all of them beneath her feet. Uncle Shi, how could I be as capable as you say? I am still far inferior to Brother Lin and the others. Dugu blushed, lowering her head in a display of shy modesty. The Heaven's Pride ranking? I feigned curiosity and asked. This was the first time I had ever heard of such a list. Sir, you truly do not know of the Heaven's Pride ranking? Ming Shifei asked with a trace of surprise. I replied, I am but a mere mortal, toiling daily just to put food on the table. How could I possibly have the time to concern myself with the rankings of the cultivation world? I offered a vague explanation to conceal my own ignorance. Ming Shifei harbored no suspicions and patiently began to enlighten me about the major rankings in the Tianling realm. In the Tianling realm, there exists a faction known as the Tingshou Pavilion. This Tingshou Pavilion specializes in the trade of intelligence and occasionally serves as a mediator. Their information network is so formidable that it is arguably the most powerful in the entire Tianling realm. The Tianling realm features 3 major rankings, all of which are compiled by the Tingshou Pavilion. To the cultivators of the Tianling realm, these 3 rankings carry immense weight. It has been said that one with great strength may not necessarily be ranked, but those who appear on these lists possess undeniable power. Strict criteria must be met to earn a place on any of these 3 rankings. One of these 3 is the Heaven's Pride ranking. Those who ascend this list are prodigies who have cultivated for less than a century, with the top 100 being selected for the ranking. It can be said that these individuals represent the future and the hope of the Tianling realm. Those who make the list are either saint sons of major sects or princes of great dynasties. There are occasional rogue cultivators who manage to rank, but most are merely flashes in the pan. Currently, the top of the Heaven's Pride ranking is held by Lin Daosheng, the Taoist hero of the Dao sect, one of the 3 most powerful factions in the Tianling realm. He is a once-in-a-millennium cultivation genius, recognized as such by the entire Tianling realm. When mentioning Lin Daosheng, Ming Shifei's tone carried a hint of reverence, while Dugu Yue's eyes shimmered with pure admiration. It was evident that, as the youngest nascent soul cultivator in the Heaven Spirit realm, Dugu Yue only ranks 36th on the Heaven's Pride ranking. It is worth noting that this ranking does not base its criteria on cultivation level alone. It is determined entirely by one's actual combat prowess. However, generally speaking, those with formidable combat strength do not possess low cultivation levels. Moreover, everyone on the Heaven's Pride ranking possesses the qualification to challenge opponents above their own cultivation stage. Beyond the Heaven's Pride ranking, there exist 2 others, the Destiny ranking and the Ascension ranking. The Destiny ranking follows rules similar to the Heaven's Pride ranking, inducting the 100 strongest cultivators in the Heaven Spirit realm below the Void refinement stage. It is remarkable that even powerful figures like City Lord Cheng and Elder Qin failed to secure a place on this list. The Ascension ranking, however, differs significantly from the previous 2. The Ascension ranking consists of only 10 slots and ignores the disparity in cultivation levels. Whenever someone from the Ascension ranking ascends to the Immortal realm, a new person is automatically added to the list. Those who make the list are the supreme cultivators with the greatest hope of ascending to immortality within the Heaven Spirit realm. However, it has been a long time since a supreme expert in the Heaven Spirit realm successfully crossed the tribulation and ascended. On the contrary, several old monsters at the tribulation transcendent stage have passed away due to their lifespans coming to an end, forcing them to relinquish their positions on the ranking. Ming Shifei's explanation was comprehensive and I listened with great fascination. Not only that, I took the initiative to ask Ming Shifei for a detailed list, cataloging everyone on the rankings. I took out pen and paper to record each name, carefully tucking the list away. In my eyes, these individuals were all high-quality potential clients for the future. Incidentally, I also felt a greater sense of goodwill toward the Tingshuo Pavilion. Had it not been for the grueling efforts of Tingshuo Pavilion to gather information on these people, relying on myself alone, I might not have found so many high-quality clients in my entire lifetime. These individuals represent the strongest group in the Heaven Spirit realm as well as the wealthiest. If I could perform a reading for everyone on these lists, wouldn't I be able to accumulate as many luck points as my heart desired? Thinking of this, I looked over at Dugu Yue, who was currently feigning the demeanor of a modest lady as she sat in her chair. In my heart, I silently resolved that I would start with her today and pluck a bit of wool from this sheep first. Miss Dugu is truly a Heaven's chosen child. To be on the Heaven's Pride ranking at such a young age, you are destined for a brilliant future. As I made my mark in history, I continued to shower her with flattery. Miss Dugu, I hope you can forgive my earlier presumption. All living beings suffer, yet from the very first moment I laid eyes on you, I felt that as long as you exist in this world, what does a little suffering matter? I shamelessly exerted my full effort, praising Dugu Yue to the high heavens, claiming there was no one like her in the sky or on the earth. Dugu Yue was, after all, merely an 18-year-old girl. How could she have ever encountered such a tactic? She already harbored a modicum of favor toward me, and now, at this moment, she suddenly felt that I actually looked quite handsome, especially while I was singing her praises. Min Thifi and Tabao watched me speaking fluently, with words as sweet as honey, and were left stunned. They had seen thick-skinned people before, but never anyone to this extent. After flattering her for a while, I shifted my tone to sound feignedly regretful and said, however, please forgive me for being blunt. Lady Dugu, you are perfect in every way, except for one thing that causes you to lack a certain ethereal grace. Dugu knew it, already swayed by my flattery, immediately asked eagerly, Sir, tell me quickly, what am I lacking? In my heart, I rejoiced, knowing she had taken the bait. I pretended to ponder for a moment, then slapped my thigh and said, very well, I shall speak the truth. For a little fairy such as yourself to wear these clothes, they simply do not do justice to your aura. Dugungwet lowered her head to look at her attire, filled with confusion. This outfit was of the highest quality, selected materials, perfect tailoring, and the embroidery on the collar alone was worth 300 spirit stones. She had always been fond of it, but what woman does not love beauty? Hearing me say this, she immediately became intrigued and hurriedly pressed, Sir, please explain. What kind of clothing would be worthy of me? It was not just Lady Wet who was curious, even Minthi Fi and Tabao had their interest piqued by me. All three of them turned their gazes toward me in unison. Have the three of you ever heard of the niche Tang Vui? I leaned back, smiling with an air of profound mystery. Tabao and Dugu knew it, were both taken aback, speaking in unison that they had never heard of it. However, Minthi Fi lowered her head in thought for a moment, before looking up in shock and saying, the garment the Sir speaks of, could it be the national treasure of the Tianvu Imperial Dynasty, the once famed Tangvu Yi? Brother Min is indeed truly learned and talented. Indeed, it is the niche Tangvu Yi of the Tianvu Imperial Dynasty. I smiled in praise, though I was inwardly smug. It was fortunate that I had researched it beforehand via the system. Otherwise, I truly would not have been able to keep up this act. I intentionally paused for a moment before continuing. I only happened to hear of this by chance. I only know it is the ultimate treasure of the Tianvu Imperial Dynasty. As for the specifics, I am not entirely clear. I only heard that wearing it can greatly enhance a woman's aura, making her appear as if a fairy has descended to the mortal realm. I spoke vaguely on purpose, specifically to arouse Dugu Nuet's curiosity. With a woman's innate love for beauty, she would undoubtedly develop a longing for this garment. Min Thifi sighed and said, but the Tianvu Imperial Dynasty was destroyed thousands of years ago, and the craftsmanship for the niche Tangvu Yi has long been lost. In this world today, I fear there is no longer any trace of the niche Tangvu Yi. Sir, what is everyone talking about? What exactly is the niche Tangvu Yi? Dugu Yuan's face was filled with curiosity. Ming Shifei turned and shot her a glare, then said in a low voice, I told you to focus on your studies. Yet you refuse to listen. Look at you, you don't even understand the basic rumors being discussed, no different from this reckless brute. As he spoke, he cast a disdainful look at Xiaobao. Damn you, you androgynous freak, are you looking for a beating? Xiaobao roared in anger. Ming Shifei ignored him completely and turned to enlighten Dugu Yuan. Shonghui is the national treasure of the Tianwu dynasty. It is not merely a garment, but a unique dance technique originating from the Tianwu dynasty. The attire worn by the dancer is consequently named the Nishang Wuyi. Legend has it that whoever wears this outfit appears like a celestial maiden descending to the mortal realm. For a female cultivator, it possesses the power to bring their temperament and beauty to life, like the final touch of a dragon. However, the method to craft this garment is incredibly complex, and ever since the fall of the Tianwu dynasty, it has been completely lost to history. In Ming Shifei's tone, one could detect a hint of regret. Then, doesn't that mean such a magnificent garment will never be seen again? Upon hearing Ming Shifei's description, Dugu Yuan was filled with disappointment, yet her longing for the Nichong Wuyi only grew more intense. Seeing the two of them in this state, I felt a secret joy in my heart. Is this not the perfect opportunity for me to make my move? Rest assured, my friends, since I have brought this matter up, I will not leave you in suspense. My lady, why the disappointment? Have you perhaps forgotten my status? The three of them heard this and turned their gazes toward me in unison. That's right, you were even able to calculate the lifespan of an immortal. Surely you can determine the crafting method for the Nichong Wu Yi. Haha, young miss, rest easy. As long as it can be calculated, this old GA will brave mountains of blades and seas of fire to retrieve it for you. Xiaobao patted his chest with a heavy thud. Still feeling guilty for having ruined the mood for Du Yuan just moments ago, he immediately took full responsibility for the task. Thank you, Uncle Shi, you are the best to me. Du Yuan cooed affectionately at Xiaobao before turning to me. Mr. Jiang, please perform the divination quickly. Upon hearing this, I thought to myself, this is trouble. Miss Dugu, I offered a gentle reminder. What is it? Dugu Yu's face was filled with suspicion. Master Zhang's divination requires payment in advance. Ming Shifei chimed in from the side, oh, that is but a trivial matter. Master Jiang, feel free to name your price. Dugu Yue said generously, while I, having already consulted the system earlier, smiled and held up 3 fingers with eyes squinted in amusement. 30,000 spirit stones or items of equivalent value. In truth, the price dictated by the system was only 10,000 spirit stones. After all, the calculation was not some heaven-defying treasure, and ultimately it was merely for a set of garments. But who am I? A man who counts every copper. When money is to be made, my eyes light up. How could I let such an opportunity to profit slip by? 30,000. Dugu Yue was startled. The 1,000 spirit stones she had given me earlier were already half a year's worth of her personal allowance. To demand 30,000 spirit stones for a slightly superior set of robes, she could not help but hesitate, wondering if it was truly worth the cost, especially since she could not produce such a sum even if she wanted to. Cultivators in the Tianling realm rarely have the habit of hoarding wealth. Every single spirit stone in their possession is usually funneled immediately into increasing their cultivation base. Because the world of cultivation is fraught with peril, if one holds on to too many spirit stones, what if they were to lose their life unexpectedly one day? Would that not simply serve to enrich another? Even as the daughter of Dugu Qing, the city lord of Dengxian City, the total reserve of spirit stones in her estate was only 400,000. Miss Dugu, the Nishang feather robe is absolutely worth this price. If you do not believe me, you may ask Brother Ming, I declared. Ming Shifei frowned. His instincts told him that something was amiss, yet he spoke the truth. If the Nishang feather robe can truly be located, 30,000 spirit stones would indeed be a bargain, but I do not possess that many. Dugu Yu replied, her expression filled with awkwardness. Master Jiang, could you perhaps offer a discount? Miss Dugu, I truly apologize. It is not that I am asking for an exorbitant price, but my divination techniques require a sacrificial medium to ensure absolute accuracy. If the sacrificial medium is insufficient, the outcome of the divination will not be precise. I shrugged, feigning a sense of helplessness, though inside I was shouting that not a single coin could be missing. That is right, Miss Dugu. If you are truly short on spirit stones, items of equivalent value will suffice, perhaps even prove more effective. Upon hearing this, Dugu Yue's eyes brightened, and she immediately retrieved a bronze mirror from her spatial artifact. This is a spirit mirror I obtained by chance, yet I have never been able to discern its mysteries. Mr. Jiang, please see if this can be exchanged for 30,000 spirit stones. Internally, I silently praised this young lady for her cleverness. She did not produce items whose value she already clearly understood, but instead offered a mysterious bronze mirror of unknown origin to fish in troubled waters. It is a pity for her that she encountered me, a man possessed of a system. I accepted the bronze mirror with a squinting smile, putting on a grand performance of inspecting it, while simultaneously contacting the system. Well, what is this mirror worth? The system's voice echoed in my mind, noting that the host's luck was truly heaven-defying. This is a damaged immortal artifact. Without a specific cultivation manual, it cannot be activated, which is why that girl could not perceive its extraordinary nature. Its actual value is at least 100,000 spirit stones. I truly relished this sensation of reaping such a windfall. I struggled to suppress my manic delight, yet the corners of my mouth twitched uncontrollably. Seeing my expression, Dugu Yue assumed the mirror was worthless, and she grew momentarily embarrassed. In that case, Mr. Jiang, I have a high-grade spirit artifact here. It should certainly be worth 30,000 spirit stones. I actually felt a twinge of guilt about deceiving her further, so I waved my hand and suppressed a laugh, saying, "It is no matter, let us just use the bronze mirror." How can that be? Did you not say that without sufficient sacrificial media, the divination would be inaccurate? Dugu Yu insisted hurriedly and proceeded to pull out a sword-shaped high-grade spirit artifact, pressing it into my hand. Sir, please do not refuse. It was Yuer who was in the wrong before. I pray you do not hold it against me. Looking at the high-grade spirit artifact in my hand, I nearly failed to suppress a laugh out loud. Is it truly this easy to amass wealth nowadays? Is it that there are too many fools or simply not enough con artists to go around? System, what is this high-grade spirit artifact worth? Host, this high-grade spirit artifact is worth 20,000 spirit stones. It can be reluctantly accepted as the equivalent of 30,000. Very well, then we shall use this spirit artifact for the initial payment and use the bronze mirror for the remainder. As the two items vanished from my grasp, the system successfully calculated the information regarding the Nishang dance garment. It even provided the precise location. 6,000 miles to the southwest of Dengxian City lies a secret realm which houses a complete pristine set of the Nishang dance garment. Given the peril level of this realm, only cultivators at the soul formation stage or higher may attempt to explore it. I immediately presented this information to her. I disclosed the detailed coordinates of the secret realm to Guye as well. Xie Bao stood up abruptly. Young miss, please wait here for a moment. 6,000 miles will only take a single incense stick's time. Old Xie will return in a blink. Having said that, he did not wait for Guye to respond, transforming into a violent gale and vanishing beyond the doorway. That reckless old brute. Ming Shifei shook his head in resignation, then addressed me and Dugu Yue. Young miss, Mr. Jiang, please wait here. I shall go and observe the situation as well. Brother Ming, do be careful. Dugu Yue urged him with clear concern. Ming Shifei nodded, transforming into a streak of light as he gave chase to Xie Bao. It was evident that although Ming Shifei and Xie Bao bickered constantly, their bond was actually quite profound. Meanwhile, I checked my luck value within the system repeatedly, a wild smirk tugging at the corners of my mouth. With just a bit of glib persuasion, I had earned 120,000 spirit stones. Truly, one must learn to fleece the wealthy elite to make any real profit. As for those wandering cultivators out there, they barely have a few coins to their names. It is a miracle they aren't starving. Furthermore, now that I possess the 8-9 profound art, I have the necessary foundation to advance my strength steadily. Consequently, I decided to remain in Dengxian City. I would not rest until I had thoroughly swindled every noble and wealthy clan in this region. Young Miss Dugu, what do you usually enjoy doing? Once a plan is formulated, one must first identify their target demographic. Compared to wily old foxes like Dugu Qing and Qin Xiaofeng, a young girl like Dugu Ye was clearly far easier to manipulate. Dugu Ye found me increasingly agreeable, so without much suspicion she propped her chin on her hand, pondered for a moment, and replied, "There is nothing in particular I enjoy. Usually, aside from cultivation, I spend time wandering the streets with Xiao Min, bullying a few spoiled young masters and occasionally punishing the wicked to aid the righteous, or sometimes I was speechless. Is running away from home when bored now considered a hobby? You nosy busybody, why do you ask about such things? Just a passing inquiry. When the opportunity arises, I would appreciate it if you could show me around and broaden my horizons." I spoke flippantly, but she replied, "That is no problem. If you wish to enjoy yourself in Daxian City, just come find me." Dugu Yue puffed out her small chest with pride. "When the time comes, I shall introduce you to several young masters from the prominent clans of Daxian City. They are all quite interesting individuals. Then it is decided. When you are free, you must take me to see the world. That will be no problem." While the two were conversing, the time it takes for an incense stick to burn passed in the blink of an eye. Xie Bao and Ming Shifei returned right on schedule. "Haha, young lady, old Xi has not failed your expectations. Look at what I have brought." Xie Bao strode forward, lifting a magnificent set of dance robes with both hands to present them before Dugu. The dance robes radiated brilliant halos of light, a gentle glow that was not blinding, while a faint ethereal aura drifted around them. A strange glint flickered in Dugu Yue's beautiful eyes as she gazed at the robes in Xie Bao's hands, nearly drooling at the sight. She took a deep, bold breath, took the robes in her hands and caressed them, unable to pull herself away. "Go quickly and try them on." Ming Shifei, who had followed behind, reminded her. Dugu Yu nodded vigorously and hurried toward the back chambers, clutching the dance robes. "You two have worked hard." I smiled and nodded toward them both. It was merely a small matter. Xie Bao waved his hand dismissively, his face full of reverence, and said, "Sir, your foresight is truly godlike. Just as you instructed, not only did we retrieve these dance robes, but we also discovered quite a few hidden treasures within the secret realm." Saying this, Xie Bao waved his hand, and 5 artifacts radiating spiritual light appeared on the table, clearly extraordinary at first glance. I did not understand the value of these items. Ming Shifei immediately explained, "These are all spiritual artifacts forged using the unique lost refining techniques of the ancient Tianwu dynasty. In the current Tianling realm, no one knows how to craft these any longer. Their inherent value is far greater than the artifacts themselves. If they were to appear on the market, they would surely incite a frenzied scramble among the master refiners." Upon hearing this, I swallowed hard and asked, "So what is the total value of these items?" Excluding their historical worth, each piece is a low-grade spirit treasure. Combined, they are likely worth 500,000 spirit stones. However, if handled skillfully and presented at an auction house, and news is spread to attract the attention of artifact refiners, I suspect it could fetch no less than 1 million spirit stones. That crowd is exceptionally wealthy. Heavens above, I am consumed with envy. I risked my life to cast divinations for immortals, yet I only managed to earn 150,000 spirit stones. These two merely took a stroll, and they have already secured nearly 1 million. Tabao seemed to see through my thoughts. "Very well." Heap spoke. "Master, rest assured. Once these items are sold, a portion of the proceeds will certainly be set aside for you." "Master." Upon hearing this, I was initially overjoyed, but then I shook my head, thanking the two gentlemen for their kindness while refusing to accept. The young mistress has already provided payment. I am well aware of the difference between a single full meal and being provided for indefinitely. Since I have decided to reside in Dengxian City for the time being, to shear the sheep, I must first leave a favorable impression. Both Tabao and Minthi Fi are, after all, within my client base. Leafy smiled and advised, "Master, please feel free to accept it. You are not a cultivator. Perhaps you do not understand the customs of the cultivation world. Whenever unexpected wealth is acquired, those who contributed their efforts are entitled to a fair share of the remuneration. This is considered an unwritten law of the cultivation world. In that case, I shall respectfully accept your offer." As we spoke, Dugu Yue emerged from the back hall, having changed into the rainbow feather garment. It truly lives up to its reputation as the national treasure of the Tianwu Empire. Once donned, the garment automatically adjusts to the wearer's physique. It fits with absolute perfection. I stared dumbfounded. The sight was truly beyond compare. Dugu Ye was already a great beauty, but after changing into the rainbow feather garment, her arrogance faded, replaced by an air of elegance. In particular, the faint ethereal aura surrounding her further accentuated her beauty, as if a celestial maiden had descended to the mortal realm. Excellent, truly excellent. Min Thi Fi uttered the word excellent 3 times, his eyes filled with admiration. Tabao was equally stunned. It was only now he realized that the young girl who had always followed him had matured without him noticing. Dugu Yue blushed, shyly fiddling with the hem of her garment, especially when subjected to my direct gaze, causing her, who had never feared heaven or earth since childhood, to feel a sudden sense of bashfulness. Let me see which young celestial maiden this belongs to. At that very moment, an affected, mocking voice suddenly drifted in from outside the door. The group looked up to see Qin Xiaofeng and Dugu Cheng arriving. The two of them had finally arrived. Ming Shifei and Xiabao hurriedly stepped forward to offer their respects. I also cupped my hands in greeting. From afar, I had mistaken the girl for a celestial maiden descending from the heavens. It turned out to be our little Yuer. Qin Xiaofeng laughed and teased her. Uncle Qin, you only know how to make fun of me. I shall pay you no mind anymore. Dugu, pretending to be angry, turned her face away. Hey, this old man speaks the truth. If you don't believe me, step outside and ask if anyone dares to say that Yuer is not a little celestial fairy. Qin Xiaofeng laughed before turning his gaze toward Dugu Cheng. Yuer, where did this outfit come from? With his seasoned eye, Dugu Cheng was filled with curiosity, recognizing at a glance the extraordinary nature of these celestial robes. Dugu Wei pointed toward me, explaining that it was calculated by Master Zhang. Shi Su and Master Ming helped me retrieve them from the secret realm. Ming Shifei added, City Lord, as you can see, these 5 spirit treasures were also discovered within that same secret realm. To exchange 30,000 spirit stones for the rainbow feather garment, and 5 spirit treasures worth nearly 1 million. It was a fortune. Even a man as knowledgeable as Dugu Cheng found it somewhat difficult to believe. He suddenly realized that he had once again underestimated my capabilities. Dugu Cheng changed his tone and asked Yuer, have you completed today's cultivation tasks? Hearing this, Dugu Yu stuck out her tongue. Saying nothing, she lowered her head and headed straight out the door toward the city lord's estate. The others present smiled, understanding the implication, and then Dugu Cheng gestured for Ming Shifei and Xiabao to withdraw. The two understood immediately, packed up the 5 spirit treasures on the table, and stepped outside to stand guard on either side of the door. With only the 3 of us left in the room, Qin Xiaofeng raised his hand to cast a technique, and a soundproof barrier instantly enveloped us. Do the 2 seniors have an important matter that requires instruction? I understood clearly in my heart. One would have to be foolish not to realize these 2 surely had an urgent matter requiring my divination. Otherwise, they would not be acting with such caution and discretion. As expected, Dugu Cheng spoke up. Master Zhang, Elder Qin and I wish to request a divination from you. City Lord, please speak. You have both treated me well. I shall certainly give it my all. I immediately patted my chest in affirmation, thinking to myself that this was simply luck and spirit stones delivering themselves to my doorstep. Indeed, these were prime VIP clients. Dugu Cheng and Qin Xiaofeng exchanged a glance and slowly opened the discussion. Master Zhang, I wish to invite you to calculate. If Dan City wishes to become the leader of the 36 cities of the sun. Upon hearing this, I was momentarily stunned. The Tianling continent is divided into 5 regions: Tianan, Xuanbei, Yuandong, Xiyu, and Zhangzhou. The southern region mentioned by Dugu Cheng refers to Tianan. Each of these regions possesses its own unique characteristics. Among the southern lands, Tianan boasts the weakest combat strength, but the most formidable financial resources, encompassing a total of 36 major cities. The Xuanbei region is renowned for its harsh climate and tribes, whose cultivators are fierce and battle-hardened. Xiu is the land of Buddha, the domain of the monks. Most mortals living there are devout followers of Buddhism. The Yuandong region is primarily governed by imperial dynasties where 3 kingdoms coexist, dividing the world among themselves. As for Zhangzhou, it is the most extraordinary of them all. Not only is it home to the 3 most powerful factions in the Tianling realm, the Taoist sect, the academies, and the demonic cult, but it also houses a teleportation formation that leads directly to the immortal realm. Setting aside such distant matters, even within the 36 cities of Tianan that I am familiar with, there is constant friction and endless dispute as none are willing to submit to one another. Dangxian City among these 36 is merely of average standing. I truly could not fathom what could have given Dugu Cheng the courage to target the position of the supreme ruler of all 36 cities. My mind reeled at the thought. Dugu Cheng softly called out Master Zhang. I regained my focus, looked at the 2 of them and spoke. Divination is possible, but I asked the 2 seniors to forgive me for my rules. That goes without saying. I nodded. I immediately questioned the system in my mind. System, state the price. The system replied, this divination requires 1,000 spirit stones or an item of equivalent value. I was stunned once more, not expecting it to be so affordable. To divine the fate of the entire Tianan region for only 1,000 spirit stones? Yet the system has never erred before. This time, I did not inflate the price and stated the original cost directly. 2 seniors, it only requires 1,000 spirit stones or an item of equivalent value. Dugu Cheng and Qin Shufeng were also taken aback. The two exchanged glances, and Dugu Cheng immediately produced 1,000 spirit stones and handed them to me. However, this time both of them exerted their full strength to circulate their cultivation techniques, locking their divine sense firmly upon me. They are both cunning foxes. Naturally, they would not fully trust my words, nor would they truly view me as an ordinary fortune teller. Yet no matter how they probed, I remained nothing more than a mortal with no cultivation base within their divine sense. System, what is the probability of Dangshan City becoming the leader of the 36 cities of Tianan? The system informs the host that the probability of success in ascending to immortality and becoming the leader of the 36 cities of Tianan is 3.27%. Upon hearing this answer, I finally understood why the result was so meager. This is virtually an impossible mission. Anyone with even a modicum of foresight could see that. I stopped my hand, which had been feigning a divination gesture, and replied, "Two seniors, the probability is no more than 3%, specifically 3.27%. Upon hearing this, the two men remained remarkably calm, as if they had already anticipated it. 3.27% was, after all, still a glimmer of hope. Qin Xiaofeng muttered to himself before turning his gaze toward Dugu Qing. "Brother Dugu, I am but an old bag of bones with few years left to live, and none of my descendants have shown any promise." A 3.2 is quite significant. My eyes widened as I listened to them. They were truly determined to chase this dream, but was it appropriate for an outsider like me to be privy to such secrets? These two old foxes clearly intend to drag me into their mess. I asked anxiously, "Two seniors, should this junior excuse himself?" I had only just settled into the idea of staying in the Ascension City to enjoy a comfortable life, yet these two wanted to gamble for such high stakes. It was clear they had no intention of leaving me in peace. "It is no matter, sir. Are you not one of our own?" I cursed silently. "One of your own, my foot. Who among you is family to me? We have only known each other for 2 days, you madmen." My heart screamed in protest, yet my face was forced to reveal an expression of profound gratitude. "Two seniors, allow me to be blunt. I am merely a mortal lacking any grand ambition. Before yesterday, my greatest aspiration was to earn enough money through divination to afford a bride price and take a wife, ensuring the continuation of the Zhang family's legacy of fortune-telling. If you two intend to play such a dangerous game, I fear I cannot keep pace with you." I bit my tongue, forcing myself to appear cowardly, fearful. Qin Xiaofeng narrowed his eyes in a smile, saying, "Sir, you are being too modest. You are no ordinary person. Your mastery of divination is unparalleled across the entire Tianling realm. I doubt anyone could rival your skill. But seniors, the probability is only 3.7%, I argued. What is there to gain from such odds? The Tianan region comprises 36 cities. If the odds are slim, is that not why we have you?" Dugu Qing's already sinister expression grew heavy, his eyes turning fierce, and my heart sank. I immediately called upon the system. "System, calculate the probability of me escaping from these two old men, given my current strength." The system responds, "Host, please confirm if you wish to consume today's divination allowance." Let me calculate. I gritted my teeth as the system informed me that the probability of escape was less than 1%. Looking at those familiar ellipses, my heart turned cold. Escape was fundamentally impossible. Before the astonished gazes of the two people, including Dugu Cheng, I slapped my cheeks hard and lifted my head, my eyes burning with resolve. "Senior, please give your instructions." Dugu Cheng wore a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, saying, "So you have agreed to assist us, mister." Internally, I offered a bitter smile. Did I even have a choice? However, I maintained a stubborn facade and replied, "But I must state this first. The two of you have sought me out for divination. Not a single spirit stone shall be missing from my fee." "Haha, there is no need for you to remind us, mister. We shall ensure you are satisfied." They both laughed heartily, yet I remained puzzled. Only one night had passed. These two old foxes who were at each other's throats just yesterday, why had they suddenly aligned on the same front? Is there anything else, seniors? If not, would you allow this junior to rest for a moment? I will not hide from you that my legs are still trembling. "There is no rush. Please, mister, perform one more divination." I looked at them helplessly and gave a nod. "Please speak. What is the weakness of the Lord of Shenhuang City? And who is Lu Qingfeng, the Lord of Shenhuang City?" I did not hesitate. I immediately consulted the system. "System, how many spirit stones for this divination?" The system replied that this instance required 100,000 spirit stones or an equivalent item. I was shocked to the core. The price was on par with divining the lifespan of an immortal. Shenhuang City lies 3,000 miles south of Dantian City, leaning against the base of Mount Shenhuang. It derives its name from the mountain, and its lord, Liu Qingfeng, possesses cultivation at the late stage of the void-returning realm. Among the lords of the 36 Tianan cities, his strength ranks near the top, and within Mount Shenhuang, there grows a spiritual herb called the Heaven Emperor Herb, an indispensable ingredient for refining medicinal pills at the nascent soul level. Shenhuang City has amassed a fortune precisely because of this unique resource. Although many have harbored designs on Shenhuang City, they have all been deterred by the formidable strength of Liu Qingfeng. Though Liu Qingfeng has not yet appeared on the Hidden Dragon ranking, he is not far from it. It can be said that the cultivation levels of Dugu Cheng and Qin Xiaofeng are comparable to his, but in terms of actual combat, even if the two of them joined forces, all of this is due to the Liu family's exclusive cultivation technique, the 9 transformations of the Phoenix. With every level cultivated in the 9 transformations of the Phoenix, one effectively gains an extra life. Furthermore, it grants an innate affinity for fire attribute techniques. It is ranked among the top 5 most powerful cultivation techniques in existence, And when combined with the fact that Shenhuang City stands at the foot of Mount Shenhuang, where legend says a phoenix once built its nest, the fire elemental energy is exceptionally dense. It can be said that as long as Lu Qingfeng holds command over Shenhuang City, he remains unfazed even when facing masters at the perfection stage of the Void Refinement Realm, those who are but a single step away from the Tribulation Transcendent stage and occupy the Qianlong ranking. However, this 9 transformations of the Phoenix possesses a fatal flaw, a secret that no outsider is aware of. At this moment, Lu Qingfeng sits cross-legged in the secret cultivation chamber of the City Lord's mansion, deeply troubled, his hands moving in a continuous sequence of seals, while waves of intense heat relentlessly batter the chamber walls. If not for the fact that this chamber was constructed from myriad-year-cold stone, which the Lu family spent a fortune to procure from the distant Xuanbei region, it would have long since melted under the searing temperature. The walls of the chamber are inscribed with countless minuscule runes. Whenever the scorching heat from Lu Qingfeng's body strikes them, the runes emit a silver glow, absorbing and neutralizing the heat before channeling it back into Lu Qingfeng. Still, it is not enough. Could it be that the partial manual our ancestor obtained truly requires the immortal realm to be completed? The rumor that a phoenix once nested on Mount Shenhuang is indeed the truth. Over 100,000 years ago, the ancestor of the Lu family personally witnessed a phoenix resting there. Although the phoenix stayed for only 3 days before departing, the place where it resided left behind a patch of runes. The ancestor of the Lu family had the good fortune to discover this flawed technique, which he then refined into the partial manual that exists today. It was this very half of a manual that sustained the Lu family for 10,000 years and allowed them to build Shenhuang City at the base of Mount Shenhuang. Yet the family's rise is tied to this technique, and its inevitable failure is also tied to it. Because they only possess half, despite the Lu family having masters as numerous as the clouds, not a single one has been able to reach the Dao and ascend to the immortal realm. Furthermore, because of this deficiency, every 10 years, cultivators who practice the 9 transformations of the Phoenix and have reached the Void Refinement Realm must journey to the Phoenix Nest on Mount Shenhuang to suppress the volatile fire elemental energy within their bodies. During this period, they must strictly avoid engaging in combat with others. The consequences range from a drop in cultivation realm to death by internal combustion. Thus, every 10 years, Lu Qingfeng uses the pretext of paying respects to his ancestors to enter the deep ancestral forests of the Lu family on Mount Shenhuang. There, he relies on the power of the Phoenix Nest to suppress his surging spiritual energy for a mandatory 49 days. At this moment, within his dantian, a small figure sat cross-legged in the air, its entire body radiating a golden light. This was his primordial spirit, exuding an immense pressure that suppressed the spiritual energy surging within the dantian. The old man had experimented for 1,000 years without finding a single clue. In 3 days, he must depart for Fengchao. Before then, he must arrange all matters in Shenhuang City properly. Although no one has known the secret of the Lu family's cultivation technique for over 100,000 years, it is better to be safe than sorry. This is the foundation that has allowed the Lu family to stand firm in the Tianling realm for 10,000 years. Just then, outside Shenhuang City, 2 figures stood silently in the void. Who could they be if not Du Guqing and Qin Xiaofeng? Qin Xiaofeng stared intently at the nearby Shenhuang City and asked with suspicion. Brother Dugu, that boy surnamed Jiang did not calculate wrong, did he? Lu Qingfeng, why is there no movement at all? Du Guqing said in a deep voice, it should be correct. I've inquired that once every 10 years, Lu Qingfeng insists on going to Shenhuang Mountain to pay respects to his ancestors. This aligns perfectly with that boy's divination. Is it too reckless for us to take such a great risk based solely on one divination from that boy? Qin Xiaofeng could not help but speak. Du Guqing turned to look at him and asked, Old Qin, are you afraid? Qin Xiaofeng was silent for a moment before speaking slowly. Brother Dugu, do you believe in fate? That day, I watched Yang Bai continuously counting on his fingers. I saw a black hole appear in the sky above the city. I saw a terrifying figure within that black hole. I saw an immortal fall right before my eyes. In that moment, I felt that my opportunity had arrived. Hearing this, Qin Xiaofeng's aged face gradually became firm. His body, once full of anger, radiated a brilliant glow. His silver hair gradually turned black and his hunched posture slowly straightened. He cast aside the walking stick in his hand, replacing it with a long, curved saber. As the saber entered his grasp, Qin Xiaofeng's entire temperament became incredibly ferocious, radiating a sharp aura of battle. Du Guqing looked at the dark-haired man before him in utter astonishment. His eyes betrayed a look of curiosity. The old man had never realized that Qin Xiaofeng possessed such a domineering side. Young man of the Dugu clan, I know you have always looked down upon me, thinking of me as nothing but a cunning old fox. Qin Xiaofeng gripped his long saber tightly, his gaze sharp and piercing. Today I will show you how I, Qin Xiaofeng, built my foundation from nothing, step by step. How did I reach the heights I stand upon today? Returning to my side after I had seen off Miss Dugu and Qin Xiaofeng, I sat in my chair lost in thought. After so long, from the initial excitement of transmigrating to this world until the moment I witnessed it with my own eyes, seeing the terrifying fall of an immortal, from my initial fear of the cultivation world to my anticipation and hope for the future. And now I found myself inexplicably drawn into the ambitions of Du Guqing and Qin Xiaofeng. In just 2 short days, my experiences have been more thrilling than the entirety of my previous life combined. But there is one thing I am absolutely certain of. In this world of cultivation where the strong prey upon the weak, If one wishes to survive, personal strength is the most fundamental foundation. I clenched my fists, silently resolving that if I possessed sufficient strength, an immortal would not be able to determine my life and death so easily. If I possessed sufficient strength, Dugu Qing would not be able to manipulate me with such ease. If I possessed sufficient strength, I could truly master my own destiny. However, there is also some good news. In just one morning, I have gained over 200,000 fortune points. Yet this time, I do not intend to use them for the gacha system. Although my luck was decent enough to draw the 8-9 mysterious technique, I know the nature of this wretched system all too well. It will certainly not allow me to keep having such good fortune forever. I have an intuitive feeling. It seems this wretched system is looking for every possible way to drain me. I should prioritize increasing my own strength rather than spending my fortune points. Having grasped this crucial point, I decided to go for a walk to clear my mind and familiarize myself with the environment. Xiaoling, where are you? This young master is going out for a stroll. The eastern market of Dangzhen City is the most prosperous area in the entire city. Located here is the city's largest gambling den, Heiwa Pavilion. As long as you have the spirit stones. A beggar named Babu was sitting by the gates of the bustling East Market. He had been an orphan since he was small, and he was only 12 years old this year. Yet, his eyes had been honed to be exceptionally keen. With just a single glance, he could distinguish who was a plump target ripe for the taking, and who was a formidable character not to be trifled with. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed, spotting a group of 4 people heading straight toward the East Market. Leading them was a young man with a refined appearance, the corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile. A small pitch-black bird was perched on his shoulder, and beside him was a maid not much older than Abu himself, looking quite adorable. Following behind were 2 retainers. One sported 2 thin wisps of beard, possessing an elegant and gentle aura resembling a scholarly teacher. The other had a face full of flesh and a wild air about him. With a shaven head that made him appear fierce and vicious, he was clearly the bodyguard type. According to Abu's experience, a group like this was clearly a fat target known for their generous spending. Young master, can this crow of yours talk? How impressive. Xiaoling was looking at the 3-legged golden crow on my shoulder with great curiosity. I called out to Tam. The 3-legged golden crow flapped its wings in dissatisfaction and spoke. I frowned and said, Tam, did I not tell you already? Refrain from foul language. Do not corrupt the child. I cannot help it, boss. It is just a habit of mine. Before heading out, I suddenly remembered that the 3-legged golden crow was still in the room. Based on our brotherhood, I decided to have it come along, treating it as an outing to get some fresh air. Young master, why can your crow talk? Is this not a parrot? Xiaoling was currently asking, but the crow retorted, You are the parrot, your whole family is a flock of parrots. I am the 3-legged golden crow, the 3-legged golden crow said furiously. 3-legged golden, I have never heard of such a thing. Xiaoling pondered seriously for a long moment, then shook her head. While we were speaking, the group of us had already arrived at the market gate. Young master, this young master, a youthful, delicate voice rang out. I looked toward the sound and saw a young beggar in tattered clothing, yet his eyes were remarkably spirited, bowing and scraping as he called out to me. Are you calling me? Yes, young master. Is this your first time at the East Market? Do you require a guide? I do not boast, but there is nothing about the goings-on in this East Market that I am not aware of. Abu revealed a flattering smile. The greatest difference between him and the other beggars was that he did not survive on handouts, but instead relied on his own energy and keen perception to work as a guide. He traded information and labor for his livelihood. How did you know I am here for the first time? I asked out of curiosity. I do not boast, sir. These eyes of mine are famous for being sharp. I remember everyone who passes through this gate every single day. You are certainly here for the first time. As Abu mentioned his eyes, his words were filled with confidence. What is your name? I am called Abu. Very well, Abu. Lead the way. Understood. Right this way, sir. Abu hastily bowed and gestured for me to proceed. Abu was truly an excellent guide. Throughout the journey, he tirelessly introduced us to the various shops and entertainment venues in the East Market, explaining everything in great detail. Passing by a tea house, I suddenly heard that the story being told inside was none other than the tale of my own demise. I became instantly intrigued and went inside to listen. We stepped into the tea house and found an empty table to sit at. I originally intended for Abu to come in and listen as well, but he adamantly refused. I am merely a beggar, entering would only disturb the other guests. It is no matter, I am treating you, I said indifferently, though in my heart I had developed a fondness for this young beggar. A child who is independent, resilient, and possesses both principles and a sense of propriety. I simply cannot. That would be against the rules. Abu insisted, and as I did not wish to force him, I called the waiter and asked him to bring the boy some food to be added to my tab. This time, Abu did not refuse. He happily followed the waiter to collect the food. The young boy sat in the corner, careful not to obstruct the way, and began to eat in small bites. I realized that Abu did not finish his meal, leaving more than half behind. Carefully stowing it away in his tunic, I helplessly shook my head and focused on listening to the storyteller. The storyteller's account contained many inaccuracies. Essentially, it bore no relation to the actual events, yet the crowd hung on every word. Jay Bao, being one who lived through those events, could only shake his head upon hearing it. Meanwhile, Xiaoling, myself, and the 3-legged golden crow listened with great interest. It was clear that this version of the tale was fabricated. The city lord had deliberately spread this misinformation to conceal the truth behind the immortal's fall. In that moment, I cast a glance toward Ming Shifei. The original text here was corrected to Jie Bao. Based on the context, it should indeed be Jie Bao. Previously, Jie Bao had been accompanying us, while Ming Shifei had already departed with Dugu Qing. The name is consistently confirmed as Jie Bao. He nodded at me, as if confirming that my deductions were correct. Let us go. We shall wander a while longer before returning. I called out to Abo and the group continued our stroll. I had initially hoped to test my luck, wishing to encounter some ruffians bullying the innocent so that I might experience the life of a righteous hero. But when I voiced this thought to Xiaoling Dang and the three-legged golden crow, they both erupted into laughter. Once I understood the reason for their amusement, my face burned red as I scanned the marketplace. I realized that perhaps no one here looked more like a villain than I did. Beside me was a beautiful woman, and serving me was Xiaoling Dang. Behind me stood the fierce-looking attendant, Jie Bao. Perched upon my shoulder was a bird capable of human speech. Such an appearance was surely that of a dissolute young master. Big brother, why don't we snatch an innocent maiden? It would be a waste of our current demeanor otherwise. The three-legged golden crow chimed in. I snapped, go play somewhere else. Just as I spoke, chaos erupted ahead as a crowd began to gather. Was the opportunity I sought not arriving at last? I immediately stepped forward with excitement, taking the lead. We pushed through the throngs to reach the center, where we found a youth dressed in opulent robes,